Welcome, everyone, and everyone watching online to 92i. I'm Jessica Shaw. So thrilled to be here with Melanie Lynskey. I feel like everyone remembers this the first time they saw you on screen. I remember seeing you in Heavenly Creatures and thinking, I am now president and vice president and secretary and treasurer of your fan club, self-appointed, and maybe people found you in Ever After or Hello, I Must Be Going or Togetherness or Yellowjackets. I don't know, but I think a Melanie Lynskey performance is one that I love so dearly. There's a depth to your performances and an honesty and just a real leaning into the gray of life, which is something that is so authentic and beautiful, and just everyone in this room is in awe of you, and including me. So let's do it. Okay.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I think I just left my body from too many compliments. I just started to be like, oh, I can't.
All right, well, buckle up, because
oh, Jessica.
Season 2 of Yellowjackets is coming up. Let me make sure I get March 26th, yeah? And,
yes, yeah.
When you wrapped season 2, you tweeted something saying like how you had never been more proud, and you were just so happy with how season 2 went. So let's just pick up there. I mean, obviously without spoiling what happens in season 2.
No, I can spoil it.
Yeah, just tell us everything.
I think that's fine. First of all, we wrapped 1 month ago, so I'm still a little bit like shell-shocked from just being done so recently. I think I'm just so in awe of my castmates, and I love all the old ladies, as I call us. My name, not their preferred name, but that's all right. I love that they're all so amazing, and I had just spent all these weeks with them. There are quite a few scenes with us all together, and I just was so in awe of them and their work and getting to see them all, these big scenes where we're all doing things I can't talk about. Just realised. But then also like the younger cast, everybody knows I'm their biggest fangirl. They all tell me it's fine, and that they love me and I can keep doing it. Because I'm really like a little bit obnoxious about it. I just adore them, and they all got something this season that was very, very, very tricky. And they all did an amazing job and just carried it, and I just feel so proud. I feel proud to be part of it, and I just love everybody.
Do you remember the first time where you thought, was it reading something in the script? Was it seeing who you'd be working with? What was the moment that when you were offered this role of Shauna of, okay, I have to do this?
Well, I was the first person who signed on, so I didn't know. I was like, gosh, I hope they get good people. I'm sure they will, but, you never know. And then they were like, Juliette Lewis, Christina Ricci. I was, very, very happy.
That's scary.
It was scary. Yeah. I'm also like a commitment phobe when it comes to the last time I had agreed to do a show that went for more than one season was 2013 with Togetherness, because I'm so scared of signing on to something that I don't want to be on after the first season. So it was a little bit of a leap of faith, but I honestly, there was something. It was the scene with Tawny in the diner in the pilot, and I just was like, oh, this is interesting. This woman holds so much power. Like you'd seen her previously in this domestic space, just kind of going about her life, but having a lot of internal stuff going on. And then I just was so intrigued by that idea. I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do a TV show, but I was like, well, let me talk to the writers and see what happens next, which is a good sign that I wanted to see where the story was going to go. And it's how I feel after reading every episode. I can't wait for the next one.
Did they tell you when you went to the writers and had questions, or were they like, this is on a episode-by-episode basis that you get to find out?
They told me, I think because they could sense that I was so anxious. So they told me in great detail about season 1, like everything that happens. Like, you have this lover, then you kill him, and this happens. And they didn't say, like, your husband thinks you're a book club, but they said, like, he doesn't, the blackmail and like, so much detail. And this was just a pilot. They weren't picked up. And I was so impressed with that. And then they gave me, like, they initially at that point pitched 5 seasons, but it was the vaguest possible overview. But it was definitely enough for me to know, like, they know what they're doing. Yeah.
And then how did you kind of sort of tease out the details of Shauna that you were going to connect with? Like, was there, what do you use? Is it music? Is it reading? Is it, like, I know a lot of people will, like, journal as a character. How did you figure out who she was in your hands?
I always have kind of a theme song while I'm working, and I don't know what it is until I rap. And I'm like, oh, that's the song I listened to 10,000 times while I was working. And in the first season, it was Nirvana's cover of Where Did You Sleep Last Night? Don't know why. But it was just the song I listened to every day on the way to work, every day on the way home from work. I think because of the yelling. It was that satisfying, like, yelling part. I can't remember what it was this season. Probably be giving too much away. But there's always a song, and then, I don't know, there's just like an instinctive thing. And the writers are so good at learning what our strengths are and writing for us. So I felt, especially this season, there was a lot of, like, Warren, who plays my husband Jeff, and I have so much good stuff. This season, oh my God, so funny and crazy, because I think they saw, like, oh, they have, like, chemistry and they work really well together. So they're good at that, like, figuring out who can work off each other.
And when this whole cast came together, the younger versions of you guys, and who are across the board extraordinary, and the 4 of you, what was that? I understand you guys had a kind of Marco Polo thing going, and everyone was just kind of bonding because you had to have, from the jump, like, this immediate chemistry.
Yeah, Tawny and Juliette and Christina and I, because they were so strict in the first season about COVID, obviously, we weren't really hanging out. We had a couple of brunches. I was like, seems like everybody worked this week, so we all got tested. Let's have a brunch. Because I don't want to be the one to take down the production. But we had this Marco Polo where we were sharing everything. We would just kind of lie in bed, like, sometimes, my daughter would be with me and she'd go off to sleep and I would just lie there whispering. We had our complaints about work. We had things we loved about work. We talked about our whole family histories. We really got to know each other in the way that you would know people that you've been around that intensely for that long.
Did that feel super vulnerable, or did it feel like, no, we need this for this?
It felt like we needed it, and we got past. None of us are people who put on a facade. None of us are people who are interested in, like, keeping up a brave face. Like, we all looked so crazy in most of those Marco Polos, like, had face masks on, or just, I don't know, like, wandering around our house like crazy people. Juliette's, like, she'd just put the phone down and be, like, yelling from another room and come back, and it's like this, like, you're so dizzy watching it. But just, like, they're all so vulnerable. They're all people who really can tap into those depths and have such an understanding of themselves. That's kind of the miraculous thing about all of them.
And I want to ask you about Sophie Nélisse, who plays young Shauna, and the 2 of you are just magical the way inside. Like, I feel like I see her in you, I see you in her. Was that pretty immediate? What was it like the first time you met her? You were like, you're young me.
No, I didn't feel that at all. She came in and she had this cute little French Canadian accent. She has blonde hair and blue eyes, and She's like, they're making me change the color of my eyes. They're making me, she was in a panic. And she was like, our voices are different. This is different. That's different. And I was just sort of like, oh my gosh, okay. And I couldn't see it when I looked at her. I couldn't see like a physical resemblance. And I just was kind of like, this is very strange. I really liked her, and then we did the table read a couple of days later, and I just didn't have any concerns after that. I think she was still a bit worried, but I just was like, Sophie, we're good. We're good. Like, there's something that's happening. That's why I think our casting directors are so amazing, because they cast, like, energetically. Like, they saw her do something in her performance that just matched. And we didn't have to do a lot of, like, trying to make our voices sound the same or have the same mannerisms or anything. It just kind of was seamless. Yeah. She's so good. I've said it a million times, but I feel like I won the lottery getting her as young me. Like, she's amazing.
As did she, getting to play you. Since you had some intel about Shauna, did you share it with her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Shared it with anyone who wanted to hear. I was like, well, here's what I know. Sorry, Ashley and Bart, but like they were so secretive. Right. Yeah. Right.
So do you at this point know, like 19 months out there, you know everything?
No.
Okay.
People keep coming up to me like I'm the town psychic and being like, when do I die? I'm like, I don't know
people
when
in the cast.
You die. People in the cast,
street.
not people in the street. People in the cast. People in the cast wanting to know specifically when do I die. I'm like, maybe you don't. They're like, you know. I don't know any of it. And I think also they need to be able to leave it open. They need to be able to make decisions. There are two people. Liv, who is now a regular, was supposed to die in the first season, but they were so great that they were kept around. So that's like an amazing thing. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So season one, you guys, like you said, it was like COVID. There were all of these protocols, and you filmed it in its entirety before anyone saw it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I remember interviewing you and the rest of the cast over Zoom.
Yeah.
And you guys were nervous. You thought, like, what are people going to think of this show? How was it while you were making it? Was there this sense of like, this is awesome, or maybe it's insane?
I have to say, like, I don't know how many sort of skills I have, but I am very good at knowing when something is going to work. And certainly I've been part of things that I have known are not going to work, and I've needed to have a job. But I do have a sense, and sometimes like I've read like big movies and I've been like, this isn't good. But it's some huge movie or whatever, and then it ends up not being good.
I saw that one.
Did you? There's a couple. But I just knew. I don't know, I was reading them and just going like, these are great. These are going to be great. Like, I just knew. They were just written in a way that it was, like, propulsive and fascinating, and I couldn't stop reading, and I knew how good everyone was. I think there were some nerves. Like, coming to the end of the first season, everyone started to get kind of panicked, especially because things really ramped up at the end of the first season, and everyone was like, are we crazy? Are we on a crazy show? And I was like, yes, but it's great. And this season, I think there's a lot more kind of trust.
Yeah, so how was it? I imagine it's a different experience, very different experience, filming in a bubble of this is just us. We're making this show and no one's seen it, versus season 2 when it was like a phenomenon. And if you weren't watching, it was like no one would talk to you because it was all you wanted to talk about was like, what is going on?
I don't know if it was quite that, but thank you. It's different. Like, for me, I'm always so worried about how everyone else is doing. And for me, this season, I was like, the writers, are they okay? Every time I'd see one of them, I'd be like, are you all right? And they were like, uh-huh. But for me, it was all I could think was like, how do you follow that up? Like, especially with all the fan theories and the things people wanted to happen and the things people thought shouldn't happen. And I know Ashley reads a lot of that stuff, and I just was like, how do you do it? How do you follow it up? So that was my main concern. But they did it. They did a great job.
I think everyone has their moment where they kind of fall in love with each of the characters and are just like, oh, I can't wait to see this person's journey. And I think one of them for me with Shauna was when she skins the rabbit. And I thought, this is... And I was wondering when you read that in the script, or I don't know, maybe they talked to you about that before season 1. Was that a moment of clarity as far as this character for you, or was there another moment or other moments that you were like, okay, this just unlocked something for me about her?
I did love that moment. On a personal level, I haven't eaten meat for 35 years, so I was a bit terrified about it, but it was like a fake rabbit. They made this amazing fake rabbit, and for the close-up stuff, they had an amazing woman who did all that, because it needs to look seamless. It needs to look like she's done it a million times. Yeah, that was a big moment for me. I like all those moments where you understand how capable she is. And I also like the moments, there's a lot more of them in season 2 because she's pushing so much down. I like the moments where things kind of bubble up despite herself and she starts kind of rambling and getting emotional. There's a lot of that in season 2, which was fun to play. But I feel sometimes like she's operated by something outside of herself. Like there's something kind of driving her that she doesn't even understand. And so those things are always fun for me with her.
Yeah, and she certainly is in, at the end of season 1, she kills her lover, yes. And that's going to be a big situation in season 2, and we have right. No, we have a clip. It is. Oh, legit, it is. Let's play our first clip.
Oh, Misty.
I mean, Misty.
Oh, Misty. Misty.
Was Christina Ricci the only one of the 4 of you guys, of the old ladies as you call them, who you knew before filming?
I had met Juliette like in an audition situation. But yeah, Christina, and I didn't even know Christina very well. Yeah. And then this year there's a new person in the cast who I have known for 25 years, which is exciting. Yeah.
Excellent. Did I read correctly that you and Christina used to like go against each other for roles all the time as young actors?
Yes, if you look at Christina Ricci's resume, I auditioned for most of those. Yeah. Yeah, she always got it. Always. Oh. Well, it's Christina Ricci. Like, you can't blame people.
I mean, you're Melanie Lynskey. Come on. And how perfect that the two of you are together now.
Yeah.
Which is so wonderful. So because Shauna did kill Adam, as we saw, someone when I excuse me, 92Y posted that you were coming, a bunch of people wrote in questions. And one of them, which I did not know, was that, oh, yeah, there are all of these people. It's like a thing that people want to be stabbed by Shauna. And first of all, I am obsessed with that, and God bless. And I wanted to know if you were aware of that subset.
No. A small group of people, like 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe a lot.
How nervous do I?
Yeah, they're like right here in the front. Oh. Yes. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
No!
Yes.
Don't.
Just like a little like.
Oh
Yeah.
no! Oh my God,
Yes.
That's so funny. I have so many questions.
Yeah. What has been because people are so fascinated by her, what has been the most kind of strange and strangely wonderful fan encounter you have had?
I honestly, I have not had very many. I think I kind of move around pretty anonymously. So I haven't really had, nobody's been too crazy. Thankfully, people have just, if anyone has recognized me, they've just been nice. And there's been, like, I feel like when I was recognized before, a lot of the time it was about, like, satisfying someone's curiosity, where they were just trying to figure out, like, where do I know you from? And I would name 10 things, and they'd be like, no. And I'd be there with my, toddler, like, crying, and she's like, hang on a minute, honey, sorry, is that good enough? So that was most of my interactions, and now I feel like people were able to be like, oh, you, yeah.
Yes. Oh, you, yes.
Yeah.
Did you really say, like, list the thing when they were like, where do I know you from?
They
You would really
ask,
tell them?
Like, so most of the time I try, like, oh, I'm not sure. I come to the supermarket a lot or whatever, and
What, as you guys approached season 2, was there? I don't know how much do you sit down with the writers and the showrunners and just kind of say, hey, what's going to be my character's journey this, or like, what's her arc this season?
I think because I was so aware that there were 16 other people wanting to have that conversation with them, I just said, whenever you're ready, guys, like, no pressure. And they were like, thank you. And then I think episode 4 was when they were like, okay, we're ready. So I had kind of an understanding at that point.
And what would you say is the, I guess, like, the theme of what she's dealing with this season?
I think the thing I love so much about the writing is they're so good at drawing the parallels between the wilderness stuff and the present day stuff. So, young Shauna, trying to choose my words carefully, is dealing with the pregnancy and all of that kind of thing. And old Shauna is dealing with the repercussions, the grieving, confusion, rage, all the stuff that has been repressed for so long, and then also coming to terms with the kind of mother that she was and is. So there's a lot to do with her relationship with her daughter and how that's playing out this season. Just, she kind of doesn't believe she's a good person, and that's coming up a lot. And then also last season, I think a thing was kind of unlocked when she was having a secret affair, and then even kind of when she murdered him, where she was like, oh, right, this is where I feel alive, when things are heightened and dangerous and crazy and I'm not in control. And so there's a certain element of, like, trying to put the tiger back in the cage. Like, can you? She's sort of pushing the boundaries a bit. Am I talking into the microphone or not really? Am I doing? Okay.
You guys here.
I just turned it around. I was like, that's louder. Anyway.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay.
It is interesting. I've seen a few episodes of season 2, and it is fascinating to watch her, because I think of Shauna as, obviously she has this trauma, but she's also very sure of herself, and she is competent like crazy. Like, she gets shit done in an amazing way. And it's interesting to watch what happens. Like maybe part of the trauma is why she's so good at everything, and why she has this real sense of who I am in the universe, kind of thing. And then you see this, like you said, this big event happens that she does, and she murders someone. And what does that now mean for her, and for who she is, and how she sees herself?
Yeah, that's something that Sophie and I really wanted to make sure we were on the same page about. We had, a coffee in Vancouver at the beginning of season 1, and for some reason we were both kind of like dancing around it, and then we were like, she's really confident, right? Like, she doesn't think she's good necessarily. She's a little scared of herself, but she knows she's smart and capable and interesting. Like, there's just a core of her who really, really knows who she is. And we both were very certain on that, which was nice.
Yeah, I wrote down, there was a tweet that you wrote when you did Last of Us, also wonderful. And it was so, you wrote, I was excited at the idea of playing a woman who had, in a desperate and tragic time, jumped into a role she had never planned on having, and nobody else had planned on her having, and then she actually got shit done. And I thought, that's Shauna too. How,
Yeah, that's funny, yeah.
I mean, not that those two people would be like hanging out necessarily.
No, you wouldn't want them to. Yeah, I guess so, yeah. She was kind of thrown into a situation and then just forced to do a lot of bad stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of some of that bad stuff where people start to find out, we have one other clip. So let's watch that one. Right. They have more questions. Spoiler alert. Yeah, there are many more questions. One of the things I love about this show is I remember reading an interview with the creators, and they talked about how so many shows that they watched on TV were kind of women in a man's world. And it was a real priority for them to say, we want to create this women's world, and not have it be, in relation to men or whatever. Like, this stands alone. And I was wondering if that was something, when I imagine you talked to them about that, was that something that drew you to the project?
Yeah, definitely. It was, that was the thing about the pilot, because, Shauna wasn't in the pilot that much, but I got to the end of it and I was like, oh gosh, I know all these people. I know all these girls and these women. They introduced so many characters in the pilot, and they were all so specific. Nobody was stereotypical. Nobody was like, the slutty one, the funny one, or whatever. Everyone had elements of all sorts of different things. And I think especially I started in the 90s, which was not like that. It was very different in terms of being a young woman. And I just thought, gosh, that's amazing to read this. There were so many women in it and so many great characters.
Did you find yourself being like, protective of the younger versions of you and the other of them, and just kind of like, I don't know, I imagine like you said, you kind of came up, at a different time, it feels like.
I was so protective, and they all are fine. They're fine. I was
like, we got it.
Yeah,
this.
they're
Don't worry
like,
about
thank you. No, but I sent an email just saying, like, if anyone needs anything, there are times where I didn't feel protected when I was younger. I didn't know what the rules were. If I was uncomfortable about something, I just wanted them to know, if you feel the need to go to the producers, or if there's something that's upsetting you, I'll do it for you, or I'll do it with you, or whatever you need. And the kind of amazing thing I realized is that generation has so much more agency than my generation did at that age. Like, it's just different. Like, people speak up. People, there are a couple of times where people came to me and said, I would appreciate you also lending your voice. This is what I've said. And I was like, sure, great. So co-sign. But it's really amazing. It's really amazing. They're so strong.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a moment in your career where you, like a project where you were like, oh, okay, I am speaking up. This is my moment. I feel like I have earned this right, or not I have earned it because you always had it, but I am now comfortable doing this?
I've always been good at speaking up in terms of what I think a character would and would not do, because I don't have any training. I don't, all I have is my instinct. And if somebody gives me a note that kind of throws me off that, I just feel like so at sea that it's not going to be good. Like I'll always fight back a little bit. I guess the first time I really felt like that, I was a regular on 2.5 Men for 2 years, and I had never been a regular on a TV show before. I'd never, anything like that. And I just realized, like, I actually really love doing sitcoms. It was so fun. But the character is, it was what it was. It was like a wacky neighbor. There wasn't a huge opportunity for growth. And that was the first time where I was like, I don't think I should do this anymore. I think I should try to do something different. And, my agents at the time really fought me on that, like really, really fought me. And I'm very lucky that the creator of the show let me come back when I could, But that was the first moment where I was like, oh gosh, this is me sort of taking a stand for a future for myself that wasn't existent yet. Yeah.
You mentioned that you don't have like training, and it's so, I was curious if you were someone who you kind of knew growing up, this is something that I can do. And then I was wondering, when you first met Peter Jackson, when you were a teenager, was there something in particular that he told you later that he saw in you?
I did always love acting. I always wanted to be an actor, and I'm from a small town in New Zealand, and people, I was 15, I was at a point where people were saying you have to choose a different job because people are not actors, it's not a job. And I was like, oh God, I don't know, a lawyer, because I liked LA Law, that show. So I didn't know what I was going to do, and then they came to my school and auditioned me, and it was Peter's wife, Fran, who came around and did the auditions. And I don't know what they saw. I remember when I did finally go to audition for Peter, he was like, well, I've got to show you something, and popped in Kate Winslet's audition tape and said, that's how good you have to be. I was like, okay. I was like, she's a professional? He was like, yep, she's been acting for, she'd been doing television since she was 12 years old or something. She was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. She's screaming and crying on an audition tape, and I just was like, got it? Okay. It was so intimidating. But he just was trying to tell me, like, this is it. Like, this is your counterpart. And so, I don't know, I guess they saw something, but that was very intimidating.
Do you go back and watch any of your things you did earlier in your career?
No, I can barely, like, even when it's like torture when that's playing, I'm just sort of sitting here like, The
last clip, don't worry.
Oh, good, okay. No, maybe one day I will with my daughter or something, but...
Yeah, Heavenly Creatures is a great one to
Very
watch.
good one, yeah. Very good one, yeah.
Do you have a role that has been, that you did go back and watch and feel particularly proud of, a performance that you gave?
For some reason, I can't remember why somebody needed a clip for something or something. I can't even remember, it doesn't matter. But I started to look at Hello, I Must Be Going, to be like, are there any good clips in here for whatever this purpose was? And then I ended up just watching the whole movie, which I'd never ever do. But I was like, that's a good movie. And
I watched
I
it this
really
morning.
loved it. Did you?
Love it so much, yeah.
I really love it. And it was nice, actually. I was like, I feel proud of that. And I loved working with Chris. Oh my gosh, I loved him. And it was like fun and sexy. And I just was, that was nice. Yeah.
If you don't watch yourself, how are you keeping up with, like, are you just reading the scripts of Yellowjackets too? Because there's a lot that happens in flashbacks.
There is a lot that happens. I watch it once. I will watch it once so that I know how to talk about it. Because also sometimes things change in editing or whatever. Things are taken out. I never want to reference like, oh, so-and-so's big scene or whatever, and it's not in there anymore. So I will watch it, kind of like this. And yeah.
How about The Last of Us? Did you watch that? Because that was pretty amazing.
Thank you. I did watch it again, torture, but I watched it. Right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I want to open it up to some questions if you have. I'm just going to repeat it because so people can hear, so don't be thrown by that. Yes.
Hi. I read your New York Times article interview this morning, dropped today, recommended. And you mentioned that you you were attracted to the role in Yellowjackets because of sort of this female rage the character had that you hadn't really emulated before in the role. And I'm wondering, is there something else that you want to pursue? Like, what would that be? Or is there another emotion that you're trying to chase?
I'm just going to repeat that so people hear. She was saying that in the New York Times piece that's out now, you talk about that one of the things that drew you to this role was being able to explore the idea of female rage, and certainly we are as women obviously conditioned to never show you're angry and repress. And if there is another emotion that you're sort of wanting to tackle or tap into.
It's such a beautiful question. I love it. I never really know until it's happened and I feel that something has been kind of exorcised from my body. When I did Candy, it was a mini series from last year, but I was playing a woman who was going through postpartum depression, and I realized at the end of it that I had, this is a little too much information, but I had lost a pregnancy a couple of years before, and there was so much more grieving that I had to do. And I'd just been going from job to job and just not really letting myself feel things. And I was like, I think that's why I wanted to be in this woman's body for 3 months and go through this thing and just play somebody who was doing her best to get through something, but just really being kind of crippled by this depression. I really, really felt for her. And at the end of that job, I was like, oh, okay, I see. I feel like a part of that has been freed now. But I never really know until it's happened. Right now, all I can think is that I want to do a comedy. That's all I can think. And the next thing is not a comedy. I can't say what it is, but it's another tragic thing.
Well, did you feel like with anger, was there did you feel like there was an exorcism, a personal exorcism kind of going on with some stuff with her, with Shauna?
Yes, yeah. And I like how she doesn't judge herself. For me, it's hard for me to be angry. I get a lot of women, we cry when we're angry because it just, we feel like it has to come out some other way, or it's, we're not used to just being clear and direct with it. And I really loved how she was so unapologetic. She's just it's a feeling I'm having. And Sophie is very good at the kind of direct, eye contact, steady, holding her ground in a confrontation. And I was like, I'm stealing that because that's really powerful. So yeah, I liked how easy she was with it in a way that I'm not.
Were there moments where you, after seeing what Sophie did last season, that you thought, oh, okay, I can incorporate that, or vice versa?
I think probably just one way. She did tell me a cute story about looking in the mirror and trying to get her mouth to do a particular thing. I don't know what she was talking about, but she said she was or something. I was like, Sophie, if I make that face, kill me now. And she was like, no, I'm saying I can't do it. It looks better when you do it. I have no idea what face she's talking about, but she was trying to do it so she could do it at some point this season, and she couldn't. But yes, all the time watching her in the table reads, I loved everything she brought to it. And for me, it's like having a recorded backstory for your character. Like, what a gift.
Yeah.
And the audience gets to see it. Like, it's crazy.
Do you think of when you're playing a character, like how much do you think of their backstory? Because you know what happens with Shauna when she's a teenager, but how much do you think of before and are you someone who like wants to dig into all of that stuff, or are you someone who approaches playing a character like in this moment?
I love a backstory. I always come up with a backstory. My best friend Claire Duvall wrote a movie that I did, and I was like, do you want to hear my backstory? And she was like, kind of. But I thought it was a really good one. I always have one. My backstory for The Last of Us was very extensive. Very extensive. Like, they could make a whole other series.
Spin-off.
Spin-off, yeah. Well, too late now. But, the backstory. Yeah.
Prequel spin-off.
Prequel. But, yeah, I love it. For me, I don't, like, sit down and sketch things out and write things out, but if you were to ask me anything, I could probably answer.
And do you share those backstories? Or are they, like, just for you? Like, with writers or with Sophie even, or...
I have shared a little bit with Sophie. I don't really, because it feels like it's private to me. I don't know. I was doing an interview with Christina the other day, and I said to her, like, I feel like there's something that Misty did that Shauna's never forgiven her for. And she was like, what was it? And I'm like, I don't know. I just, like, she's all like, what did Misty do? But I just was like, she was very interested in that. And I actually didn't know I really felt that way until I said it. But things like that, like you kind of like cling on to like a little thing, you know.
That first clip that we saw with you and Christina was so much fun, and I was wondering, we see a lot of like two of you together in different scenarios, and then in the finale in season 1 you get to see all 4 together. What's that like when the 4 of you can just be together in a scene filming as this unit?
First of all, it's crazy. It's so intense. I just love them. I love them. I know I sound like a broken record, but like that scene with Christina was so fun. She's so funny and she's so weird and scary. And like such a professional. And it's just a joy. And then every scene with Juliette, like it's like someone sprinkled with pixie dust and you just don't know what's going to happen, and then it happens and you're like, oh my God, I was here for that. Oh wait, I was in the scene. Like, it's so crazy. And Tawny's so like grounded and intense and ferocious and present, and just like, and now we have Simone Kessel and Lauren Ambrose, and you know, there are scenes with the 6 of us, and I just was sitting there like, how's this my life? Like, working with these women.
Simone plays older Lottie, and Lauren plays older Van, and it's amazing. So I was going to ask you, do you get to so you all get to be together, and do you have one-on-one scenes with them? Is that without spoiling too much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, and yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Next week. Yes. You don't have a knife, right? Just make it. Okay, all right, good.
I'm clear. Afraid of knives, actually. No, but I grew up with you, like from childhood, ever after, heavenly creatures, like everything. And you've inspired me to be a filmmaker in a way. So, like, is there any role that you want to take on that isn't necessarily like an actor? Like, would you go into like producing or directing or writing? Like, is there anything that like intrigues you behind the camera as well?
I would never want to be a director. ever. It's so stressful.
Why?
I don't know how they do it. Like, they're just answering so many people's questions. I get on a very like single focus track when I'm working. Like, sometimes people are giving me notes sometimes, and I stare into space because I can't like process the world around me and also think about the performance. I look like a crazy person sometimes, but so stressful. Sometimes I think about producing because I would like to help other people get things made, like good projects. But I don't know, how do you do that? Does anyone know? Help.
What about writing?
I just judge it too much. Every time I've tried, I'm like, that's terrible. And I know you're supposed to push past that part, but I also have a 4-year-old. I'm tired.
Yeah. How are you not writing scripts in your spare time? And like,
Some people are.
yeah, yes. I mean, not with 4-year-olds, but yes.
Well, yeah, Sarah Polly.
You know what? Yeah. There you go. There you go. To follow up kind of on that question, you just said your next project is going to be another drama, with tragedy infused with some tragedy. Are there like roles that you are craving that you say, oh, I really want to play this type of person or someone who experiences this thing?
I think
Do you have a wish list in your diary?
I have a wish list. I have a weird wish list. Years ago I did a movie with Paul Giamatti, and a couple of scenes had to be cut out because we had too much chemistry. And the director, Tom McCarthy, who I trust very much, was just like, it's not what we were looking for in that moment. But to me, I thought it was an interesting way for her to relate to him. Anyway, but ever since then, I've wanted to do a romantic comedy with Paul Giamatti. It's like one of my life's dreams. I mostly have people I want to work with. I want to work with Brian Tyree Henry. I want to work with Olivia Colman, Regina Hall. I have a wish list of people who inspire me. And then just something funny. I want to do something funny.
Do you find that I feel like so often actors will get offers based on the most recent thing that they did, and then everything else they did is completely forgotten kind of thing. Do you get offers for, I have to imagine you drive your agents crazy because you really do so much that there's no oh, this is a Melanie Lynskey role.
I'm lucky that my agent has such good taste and also always wants me to pass on things. She always wants me to take a break, which is very sweet. But yeah, there's been so much wonderful stuff coming in. And I do still get offered now I'm on a TV show, but I used to get offered sitcoms every pilot season, which was fun. I was like, I'm still in there. I can still kind of jump ship and go do a sitcom, which is such a fun life,
Have you told Paul Giamatti about your plan?
I don't know if it's a plan. I don't know if he'd want to. I guess I could ask him. I'll send him an email. And be like, remember me? Yeah.
Okay, yes?
My question was kind of about Shauna as a character. I wanted to ask, do you see a future for Shauna where she ever goes back to living a normal life, or do you think she's happy to be back in that kind of survival mode that she was in the wilderness?
That's something, honestly, that I have been asking myself after season 2. Is she going to go back to just being a normal person? There's kind of an open-ended thing at the end of season 2 where that's a big thing that I'm asking myself. And I don't know. It's up to the writers. I'm not sure. It's very fun to play crazy Shauna, but it would also be interesting to see her trying to just sort of assimilate again and settle herself. And what would that look like?
Do you have the urge, since you said 5 seasons was the plan for this, do you have the urge to know where her storyline ends?
I do in a way, but then I also trust them. I trust them. First of all, I trust them to know whether it should be 5 seasons or not, whether it should be 4, whether it should be 6, which I don't think is likely, but I just trust them. And I want them to be able to follow the story to where it's naturally going. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
My name's Taylor. My best friend Sarah and I drove up here from Philly today to see you.
Oh my God, thanks.
Quick question about your filmography. We spent the last year watching every single credit on your IMDb filmography.
I'm so sorry.
It's been the most joyous experience of our lives. There's one title that we can't find anywhere. I've ordered DVDs from other countries and region-free lawyer players. Measureless to Man, 1999, directed by Adam Larkin. Does it exist?
No. No.
My soul can now have peace.
Okay.
I just want to repeat this question because I forgot to do the last one. I apologize. You're trying to find Measureless to Man, and Melanie Lynskey is shutting you down, right?
No, it was someone I knew at college. Like, he said, "Would you be in my short film?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I don't know if he ever finished it. I saw him a couple of years later. I was like, "What happened to your short film?" And he was like, I don't know if he finished it. I don't know. But it doesn't. I know it's on IMDb, but I don't know if. I don't think anyone's ever seen it. I certainly haven't. Yeah, yeah. Let that one go. That's so sweet. Thank you. That's crazy. Thank you. But there are some really bad ones. Oh, yes. Yes.
There you go. Yes, exactly. Well, I feel like that is always a recurring theme. Not that there are bad projects, but that if ever there is something that doesn't work, I feel like the review always says, "And yet Melanie Lynskey shines in this." Was there ever a role that you were like, "Oh, I wish I'd gotten that one"?
Honestly, probably the biggest heartbreak of my life was when I didn't get Junebug, and I was close to it, and I auditioned a few times, and then I got the call, and I was in the middle of doing deliveries for Project Angel Food, delivering food to people, and I was on a schedule, but I had to stop and cry for half an hour and then get back. And I just was like so heartbroken. And then I had this wonderful thing. When I saw that movie, the greatest thing that can possibly happen other than getting the role yourself is when you see it and you go, "Oh, that was never mine. That was never my role." Like seeing Amy Adams in her Oscar-nominated role in Junebug, I just was like, "Oh no. Like, why was I close? Why did I audition again?" Like, it's so hers, and it brought the world Amy Adams, like in the way that she is, and the way I'm obsessed with Amy Adams. But so that like wonderful freedom when you just realize like, oh, that was hers, is the best case scenario. That doesn't always happen, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Do it. Yeah.
Hi.
So one of the things that they really drilled into our heads in drama school is, don't judge your characters. So I was wondering if you have to do something, whether it's in Yellowjackets or The Last of Us, that you find personally morally dubious, like I would never really do this. Does it bother you having to do it, or just how do you approach that in a role?
The question. Let me just repeat that. Sorry about
Thanks.
that. Just if that it was about like judging your characters, and I mean, I'm guessing if you wanted to judge Shauna, you would find material with her. But how do you approach that?
I love playing characters who do things that I would never in a million years do. And it's easy, I think, to be in a scene and have all the convictions of the person that you're playing. But it's also, I judge myself sometimes, Sometimes I think about things and I'm like, that wasn't my favorite, especially things from my youth. Yeah, but I don't know. It's never been. I've heard that before, and I've always been like, that's such a funny rule. I think it's okay. I think you can kind of live in an in between where you're in the character and you're doing it without judgment. But
Was there a scene in particular of playing Shauna that was the most challenging for you?
I should have an answer to this. I don't know. It was all quite challenging. There were times in the first season where, because I'm so emotional, I cry at the drop of a hat. I wanted to burst out in tears, and she just was not there. And so that sometimes was challenging. Like, I remember I did one scene with Warren where I found out that he's read the journals. You know, I say, like, when did you read them? And he tells me, and, you know, we're putting together the blackmail plan. And in my off camera for him, I was weeping because it made me so emotional. Like, unconditional love. She didn't know she had it this whole time. She thought it was something that was impossible. And she had it. And it just, to me, that was like so beautiful and tragic. But I felt like she's so far inside her repression and lost in her self-loathing in that moment that she's not really gonna cry.
I think we have time just for one more. Let's go in the back.
You mentioned wanting to make another comedy. You also mentioned your friend played football. Are you going to do a sequel to But I'm a Cheerleader?
I don't think I love that. I don't think it's up to me. I think it's up to Jamie Babbitt. I would if anyone wanted to. And then Claire's also writing another movie right now that ideally I would do. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Very last question. It was one that someone tweeted at us. If you could use one word to describe season 2 of Yellowjackets.
I don't know. Is there a word for that feeling when you're going up and up and up on a roller coaster and you haven't like gone over the edge yet?
Yeah.
It feels like that. Anxiety. Yeah, I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. The Germans probably have a word for that. Yeah.
But thrilling
Yeah,
also.
yes, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
anxious and thrilling. Well, Melanie Lynskey, what a pleasure to have you here at 92i. Thank you all so much. Thank you for your thoughtful questions.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone. Yellowjackets season 2, March 26th on Showtime. Cannot wait. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. You're the best.